What's going on, guys? Today is the first episode of the PYRECast. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for the very first episode of this show. And to kick things off, we're going to be talking about something rather interesting regarding headphone technology, planar headphones. What are they? How do they work? Is it good for RIDDIM music? Which, by the way, if you're not familiar with what RIDDIM is a type of dubstep music. It's more slow brooding and sometimes a little heavier, but for the most part, it's like very, very bass-oriented music. A lot of more complex textured sounds, and stereo imaging is fairly important regarding those sounds, like what comes on the left and what comes on the right. You know, all those kinds of things are like really, really important to music, especially in RIDDIM, because you know, you've got all these different fat, huge sounds. So what is the difference between these planar headphones regarding dubstep and normal headphones? Let's dive into this, guys. Alright guys, well let's kick it off by jumping right to the point. What is a planar headphone? Why is it good for RIDDIM? For starters, planar headphones, speakers in headphones, have a much better stereo imaging field. Normal headphones, like these for instance, these are dynamic headphones, which actually dynamic headphones, it's the most traditional form of a regular loudspeaker. It's just got a moving coil that moves up and down inside of a magnet, like a permanent magnet that's inside the headphones. With planar headphones, the wire is a flat coil that's a whole like space around your ear, so it's a much better transient response because it's a much it weighs a lot less than a traditional cone speaker. You know, and the textures in planar headphones really just have this amazing tactile feel to them. Like the bass is just like much more lively and just much more there. But in dubstep, specifically RIDDIM, it's a much more metallic sounding music. So the textures of the sound with planar headphones, as I said before, they have a really, really tactile feel to them, which dynamic headphones honestly really, really lack that kind of thing. In my opinion, even in high-end dynamic headphones, you've got a much more, like, I don't know how to explain it, I guess artificial sounding thing, whereas the headphones here with the planar headphones, they have a lot more realistic sound to them. Like, and I'm not just saying this comparing, you know, a pair of like $2,000 Odyssey LCD3s to a pair of, you know, $200 Audio-Technicas. I'm really honestly talking about in general, even like a $300 pair of planar headphones versus a $300 pair of dynamic headphones. You're going to notice how much better the sound of the planar headphone is. Now, with planar headphones, you are really, really going to have to get used to what you're hearing because there is a completely different kind of sound. Overall, I really could not believe my freaking ears. Like in certain songs, the stereo imaging in these headphones, that is absolutely insane. You can really hear what stuff's on the left and what stuff's on the right. And really, because of a great deal of spatial locations in dubstep and a lot of different kinds of sounds that are used that require the different kinds of stereo imaging effects, you could really, really appreciate these things much more in a pair of planar headphones. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in so far. Appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. And a word from our sponsor, which is actually our own company called Pyre. It's a new social media app that is going to be launching very, very soon. We've briefly talked about it a few different times on our social media, on our Instagram, and on our various platforms that we've been broadcasting. But basically, this app is a brand new way for artists to connect to their fans, for artists to book a studio, and this app will also be a way for other artists to connect in the same kind of music that they are, which is electronic music. So this, I guess you could say, EDM social media, it's going to be a brand new revolutionary kind of social media that's really honestly going to take stuff to the next level. We'll be able to call our friends, we'll be able to video chat our friends. It's really, really monumental stuff here, guys. Really, really excited about the future regarding that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the first episode of the PYRECast, guys. It really does mean a lot that, you know, you guys are all, you know, taking a look at my videos and stuff. You know, we've gotten almost 20,000 total views on the channel. Really, really means a lot that, you know, so many people checked out our stuff. You know, we've got like a lot of different kinds of content, whether it's unboxings, reviews, we are even doing travel vlogs. We've got a vlog from New York coming, guys. It honestly is just really a lot of different stuff that we've been doing. So thank you guys so much. But I think it's time to get back to the topic at hand here. Another question that I've been asked is what really is the difference between a normal headphone and a planar headphone? Like, what actually is the difference aside the speakers and aside like the sound quality? Well, number one, a planar speaker inside of like the pair of Odyssey LCD3s has a much lower moving mass, meaning it's lighter, so it can move faster, so the transient response is better, and it's just overall a much better experience for your ears and for your music. And second of all, the not just the lightweight, but also the way that the driver is constructed, it has a much wider, like the coil of wire is like in a big coil across your whole ear rather than just in one tiny spot. You know, like with a coil speaker, it's a lot more like concentrated. The stereo image is not nearly as refined. Even in more expensive headphones, like the best example that I can use to compare these headphones to a high-end pair of dynamic headphones is like the Focal Utopia or the Focal Clear headphones. Those are a little more expensive. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't like the Utopias. I thought the Utopias sounded brittle. I thought that they sounded bloated, and I thought that they sounded not good to my ears. They didn't sound like $4,000 to me. I mean, at all. These are half the price of those Utopias, and I think these far outperformed anything that I've ever heard. Regarding RIDDIM though, there's a lot of different kinds of music that I have listened to on these headphones, but the thing that really stands out to me the most is the way dubstep sounds on these. Like, there's just an absolute like crushing weight that comes from the low end in these headphones that just really grabs you and puts you in the center of the whole action that is going on in those headphones. And then the other thing that these headphones really do well is the mid-range. Now the mid-range is where the music lives. The mids in these headphones and these headphones versus the planars, the mid-range in dynamic headphones rather, not specifically these Audio-Technicas, let's not get them carried away here. Now, for those of you that aren't watching the video but are just listening to the podcast, I've got a pair of Audio-Technica ATH M60Xs here, which is my DJ headphones. Now, the drawback, which I will say that the dynamic headphones do have a leg up on the planar headphones, they aren't as durable. Like the planar headphones, I would never want to DJ with these headphones because I'd be too afraid of messing them up. I mean, those drivers are much more delicate. They're not really made to be used in like a more aggressive setting. So dynamic headphones, I think, are really great for just like tracking music, for DJing, for being on the go, for like moving around, for like jamming out. You know, these headphones, you kind of got to be a little bit more careful. I mean, you can do a head bob or like whatever, but you have to be more careful with the planar headphone. I really think that dubstep music responds much better to planar headphones for pretty much every reason I named above. But I think above all, the way that the impact, and I think I already said, like the textures of the sounds, like you can actually really make out much better like in these headphones than you can in any dynamic headphone I've heard. Like you can really hear like every little texture. Like you can hear like the reverberations like a lot better. Like you have a sense of spatial dynamic range, and you also have a sense of spatial like imaging. So not only are you hearing how loud something is, how far something is away, but you're also hearing exactly where it's located in the field. And really, you know, no dynamic headphone, whether it's cheap or expensive, can really come anywhere close. So yeah, dubstep music really just responds better to this kind of speaker. So I kind of want to take a quick second to talk about the brands of planar headphones, not just that I trust, but it's kind of like a trusted name with you know, audiophiles everywhere. I'm in a few different headphone groups. I'm in a few different communities online that talk about headphones, and planar headphones really are a hot topic. I would say that they're, as of right now, to what I can see, the most popular type of headphone for you know, serious like critical listening applications and or audiophile type of applications, which is like, you know, serious like critical listening to the music that, you know, you really like. So the first brand that I really want to kind of talk about is the brand that I've got the most experience with, which is Odyssey. I literally love my LCD3s to death. They go everywhere with me whenever I'm traveling, you know, whenever I'm in a hotel or wherever I'm at. You know, I always have these with me because they're just absolutely merciless in their detail. And, you know, for what they are, there's nothing better. I mean, I've heard headphones, like I said earlier, I heard the dynamic headphones, which were the, the Focal Utopias, $4,000. I've heard the Focal Clears, $1,500 or like $1,400, whatever. I've heard the, the Bear Dynamic DT 1770s. I've heard lots of different dynamic headphones that were, more expensive and also less expensive. And I've heard many different, even the ultrasone stuff, and even the Sennheiser stuff, like the HD800. That's a $1,500 headphone, $1,400 headphone when it came out. Now they have the HD820s, which I've heard are honestly not worth the money. But Odyssey, this is, now it's open back, so you're not going to be able to listen to this just anywhere. You're going to want like kind of like a space where you're not going to be disturbing people, because everything that you listen to that is heard on these headphones, you're going to hear it on the outside, because they're open back. So there is some closed back ones that Odyssey makes called the LCD2 Closed, LCD2C, not to be confused with the LCD2 Classic. But the LCD2 Closed back, I've heard those, and you can get them on clearance, like or used for like $500 to $600, brand new for $900, which I mean, it's the last pair of closed headphones you may want. I mean, there's also other companies called Mr. Speakers, which is now Dan Clark Audio, which makes a closed back planar. But honestly, I didn't really like the sound signature of those. Now they do sound better than a lot of stuff out there, but I didn't like the sound signature of those. So that's another thing. My biggest piece of advice is go try these headphones out. Go try to find some and like know somebody who's got them, so that you can hear them for yourself and you can make the judgment based on that. But aside Odyssey, which we've established, they are by far, in my opinion, one of the most respected names in headphones. As far as planar headphones are concerned, I don't think they make any dynamic stuff. I haven't really looked into it, but there is another brand that I have experience with, which I call them unobtainium, because I mean, who's going to spend $10,000 on a pair of headphones? I mean, it's really absolutely. I mean, you're talking 5 times the cost. Like, what if I said that these headphones, the LCD3s, really take you to another dimension, but these take you to a whole nother freaking plane of existence. Like the Abyss 1266 TCs, which is what I heard. Thank you so much to the man who allowed me to review those. Really changed my life. Like it's really honestly what made me get the LCD3s, because even though a $10,000 headphone is a little bit outside of what I consider sensible to some extent, for that, there is literally nothing on earth that can compare. And I mean, I'm talking studios that cost $500,000. So maybe it is, sensible to acquire something like that. But the thing about those is that they are so power hungry that you really need like a good amp to drive them. But once you get, so yeah, you're talking like $15,000 at that point for your system. So no, at that point, you're really pushing the envelope. But it sounds like you're hearing music in your dream. Like you can't touch those Abyss. Like the stereo imaging is so freaking huge. Like it's unreal. Like stuff's all the way over here. Like you can, like all to the left and to the right. You can hear really everything. And it's just truly an experience that you need to have for yourself to understand what I'm talking about. You really are in a whole other world with headphones like that. So I think that the third and final brand that I want to touch base on is something I have not heard. I haven't heard these headphones, but I really want to. They're a brand called Hi-Fi Man, which they make different kinds of headphones. Their highest end ones are called the Susvara, which they've been A'd and B'd. I've had friends who own both, and they've told me that the Susvaras at $6,000, without an upgrade cable or anything, the Susvaras, it's like float like a butterfly. Whereas the Abyss 1266 TCs, or they have a complete consciousness. They have a bunch of different variants of the Abyss, but the TCs, which is the one I heard, that's like stinging like a bee. So I think what I'm trying to say is the Hi-Fi Man sound much more lush and much more like beautiful and much more like I would say more laid back. Whereas the Abyss sound much more in your face, right there. You were hearing every freaking little thing in those headphones. They're detail monsters, and with what I do for a living, I really admire and I freaking love to death the way that the Abyss represents the music, and I think that there's really nothing out there that really compares to those headphones. So regarding Hi-Fi Man, they have lots of different, see, these are more budget conscious headphones. If you're wanting to get into planar headphones and you do not have a crazy budget, like thousands of dollars to spend on a pair of headphones, you know, most people do not. So if you're not in the budget of a planar headphone like that, you know, you can get the Hi-Fi Man HE400Is, or you can get the Hi-Fi Man Sundara, or even like if you're spending a little bit more money, you can get the Ananda. They have a lot of different ones, which every single headphone that Hi-Fi Man makes, you know, they're all planar headphones except for one, which is a special edition rendition of the Sony R10, which were a legendary Sony headphone, which were made of like rare wood and like a biocellulose diaphragm, but I digress. They've never really made much they've never really made much dynamic stuff, dynamic driver stuff. So Hi-Fi Man, like I said, I think they're the brand that I would trust the most for more entry level planar headphones. And there's also other brands out there, like Avitone just released a pair of planar headphones that, you know, I've been seeing around, and I haven't really heard anything about them except, you know, I've got another person that I know personally who actually just ordered some, and they're going to give me their thoughts on them. But overall, guys, I think that about wraps things up here. So before we conclude the first episode of the PYRECast, I just want to give Nordic Hardware a shout out for this interview with Alexander Rawson, who is the owner of Odyssey. I'm going to go ahead and let him end the episode right now. He's going to talk about his company and the planar technology within his beautiful headphones that he has created throughout the lifetime of his company. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been the PYRECast. What headphones are best for RIDDIM? Thank you guys so much. Alexander Rawson can take it away right now. Thank you guys so much.
We use planar transducers, which is a thin film membrane, or basically a flexible circuit, suspended within a magnetic flux. So what happens when you apply voltage is that membrane moves,
yep.
And that then moves the sound, moves the air, which creates sound. Cool. Because of the lightweight membrane, you get very little distortion. It can move much faster and easier than a normal dynamic driver.
So if you would like speak to a normal consumer and you would like to address to them why is this technology superior to a normal driver, what would you tell them?
It's a much faster driver.
Yeah.
I mean, we get it to 50,000 hertz. So
nice.
It's really just accuracy, it's speed, and being able to control the pistonic movement of that driver.
Okay. Is it an expensive technology to manufacture and you have to work with?
In the beginning, it was very expensive. I mean, we put a lot of our money into R&D and material science. Without material science, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we know some of the best experts in that field, and they helped us grow along the company, along with the best acoustics engineers in the world. I mean, it took a lot to make this happen, and it was really just all the LCD series are handmade in California. We have a group of guys that all they do all day is test and make sure these headphones are equivalent to the price.
Of course. So.
This has been the PYRECast, where we just jumped right into this. Thank you guys so much, and stay tuned for the next episode.